The Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree, a tradition-rich gathering of truck-obsessed individuals from all walks of life. Their one common is their love of big, bad American craftsmanship. Sharing in the competition space on this weekend are the monster trucks and the tough trucks. And on this day, we bring you a double dose of high-octane action. The pride of the four-wheel drives of the Northeast have gathered at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, as Steve Shannon Tire Company presents the 37th Annual Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals from the Chrome and Candy Apple of the Show and Shine Cruise Lanes. We're going to take you down to the dirty infield for tough truck action here this evening. We'll also have the monster trucks freestyling a little bit later in the program, but we're going to start things off with a little bit of action from our stock classes. Brad Mertz, nearest the camera in the machine called Buck Naked, lines up side by side with Eric Sponenberg. And Dirt Poor, that machine has gone under a few names over the years as it left the family for a while, had another life under another team, came back to them, and has run under two different names now with the Sponenberg family. Of course, Team Foytoy out here running in the mod class this weekend, but always good to see the Bloomsburg natives ready to roll when the tough trucks come to town. You can see Brad Mertz, who has been on a tear this weekend, working the track that still has some standing water on it, and you know how dusty it's been this weekend. This track has been getting watered throughout the day, but the sun keeps baking it down. Very dry conditions here this weekend, save for a slight rainstorm that we had early in the weekend on Friday afternoon. It really has not been a wet one. Very, very dry conditions. It's made it very desert-like out here. And you can see the dust already starting to come up from the wetter spots on the course. But Brad Mertz laying one down again here on this second day of tough truck action as Eric Sponenberg mauls the tabletop here. That was the monster truck starting line earlier this afternoon. Brad Mertz headed for the finish line with the lead in this stock tough truck qualifying round and trying to maintain his number one position headed toward racing on Sunday afternoon. Eric Sponenberg looking good here, though. The Foytoy family happy to have him alongside for another year on the Tough Trucks Challenge. Here's another look at that big leap across the tabletop. 132 for Mertz and a 133. It's a minute 33 for Sponenberg. Not far off from each other. They definitely have the advantage in this stock tough truck challenge, as those trucks are a little more race ready. Again, within the legality, within the rule book here in the stock tough trucks challenge, now as Austin Headings and Zach Wiggle line up for an absolutely bone stock battle. The F250, the extended cab, against the Dakota, and neither of these machines are long for this world. Hear the thunder of exhaust systems begging for mercy as they head for this big tabletop. Just beating these machines to death as they work their way around the track. This is what tough trucking is all about. He just scraped the drivetrain over those K-rails. Quiggle, smart enough to hammer it a little harder. I'm not going to take anything away from Headings because I have a feeling that we're going to get some wild rides out of these two guys before the day is up. As they haven't been nice to these machines so far, but it's going to get more and more wild as the weekend goes on with less and less to lose. As they put more and more passes on the track. He just dug down through the mud into the dry soil on the clay oval here at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds Speedway. Headings making his way back to the tabletop. I thought he was going to carry a little more speed in there. Maybe saving that for tomorrow afternoon. As many runs as he can out of it. That's a nice jump there for Quiggle. He's been hitting down in that little valley on top of that tabletop all weekend long. Boy, that Ford is coming apart. The Dakota starting to show signs of major mechanical failure, I should say. These things were not rolling in 100% to begin with, as is certainly evident. Not much suspension left under either one of them there as the Ford starts to drag the ground. He'll finish up, and I can tell you right now that Brad Mertz will remain in the lead in this stock division. Quiggle crossed the finish line and tried to go up one of the monster truck jumps. 140 and a 157, but hey, he gets his accolades from the crowd here in Bloomsburg. One more look at some of the wilder moments from this one as they bounce down. Bumpers scraping the ground and all. Again, this is what tough truck racing is all about. Go find your favorite brand in a junkyard and give it one last hoorah before you take it to the crusher. Be interested to see if they tear the drivetrains out of these later and stick them on this monster truck course. I can tell you for sure neither one of those machines is going to be around at weekend's end on Sunday afternoon as we go into our modified qualifying, our final qualifying session in the modified class. Scott Martin and Holland Ass nearest the camera against Brett Sponenberg in beer money. And Sponenberg came out of this thing very, very quick earlier this afternoon, trying to out-qualify their teammate, Mike Loopold, Loopy, and the Warhorse, who we'll see momentarily. We can hear that gray rock clatter when they go drifting through there. That's something we talked to Jake Nichols about earlier. They do not really like that gray rock down there, but they have to work with what is here when they get here. That is a drainage area for the track. They can't go covering it over with clay because it will defeat the drainage purpose that it serves here on the infield of the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds Speedway. Unfortunately, though, these guys said that they took a few of those gray rocks in the helmet, so wearing the neck restraints, a full cage, and everything can help you out as Sponenberg works his way toward the end of the track. Martin trying to play catch-up. Keep in mind, Martin had a near crash here on Friday night when he overshot the landing ramp there on the tabletop and landed on the front of the chassis and came to a very abrupt stop. Martin now finishing a fairly smooth run in the blue Ford pickup, although not quite the run I think he was hoping for. Sponenberg going to walk across the finish line to pick up the better of those two times. Martin rolling across the line right there. We'll get times on those guys. So neither one of them, I believe, going to move to the number one spot as they'll start setting the field for Sunday afternoon elimination. Stay with us. More to come from the Steve Shannon Tire Four-Wheel Jamborees.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.
The greatest spectacle on four wheels is back. The 38th Annual Steve Shannon Tire Company Four-Wheel Jamboree, July 11th through the 13th. America's most legendary 4x4 festival under the Bloomsburg sun, and it's all here. Monster trucks, dump trucks, mud bogs, side-by-sides, burnouts, and monster truck rides, plus acre upon acre of custom 4x4s and the latest off-road products and gear in the Wolfbox Performance Marketplace. Don't miss the Steve Shannon Tire Four-Wheel Jamboree, July 11th through the 13th at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds. Buy tickets or register your ride today at fourwheeljamboree.com.
This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. your high-performance fix on the go.
Back at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds with the Steve Shannon Tire Company 37th Annual Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree National. Zach Wiggles' machine got hauled off moments ago by the lull, and we're back on the line with modified Tough Trucks qualifying. Closest to the camera, that's Tony Martinez in one of his two machines here this weekend. Bulletproof lined up next to the godfather of Tough Truck Racing, that is Jake Nichols in the Foy toy. Out of Little Meadows, Pennsylvania, New York and Pennsylvania going at it here in qualifying. Remember, Martinez's first qualifying session, he broke after almost rolling the truck over. He's got to make up for that. Well, he is getting awfully close to that center as he almost collided twice with Jake Nichols. Nichols with that 800 plus horsepower Jensen race motor in the front of that machine. Martinez is over. Tony Martinez clips the tire and dumps the Ford on its side. Nichols is going to roll off the track. I don't know if he is going to come back for a second shot at this qualifying round, or if he's just going to take what he's seen. Look, once again, right there, he started to head toward Nichols. I don't know if Nichols saw him and took evasive action, or if he just started to head wide as well. They're both kind of toward the middle there, but you can see Martinez setting up wide to duck into this corner here, and came through there all right, but you could tell he was having some control problems. When he got to this turn right here, he clips the leading edge of that tire, and he drives right up the tread of that thing. We've seen that happen many times in the past. When these guys hook those Uke tires, they don't bounce off of them. They have a tendency to drive right up the tread. The rubber meets the rubber, and over they go. And a little worse for wear. It doesn't look like he hurt the truck too bad. You can see how well the suspension works. It sticks when they brought it back over. Martinez, though, twice now has faced disaster in these qualifying sessions this weekend. So unfortunately for him, it looks like he is not going to get a qualifying time, but have to go into eliminations with not a complete run on the track. One more look at it. You can see taking some chances there was Jake Nichols as he came in on Martinez going toward that last leg. And one more look at it will show you Martinez cutting that turn tight, trying to outrun Nichols. He clips the tire and up he goes. The independent front suspension didn't help him any either, because when that shock compressed, it just drove that thing right on over on its side. Again, the suspension working very well on this truck, but ended up biting him in the end. Now Tony's other machine in action here, driven by Wayne Solly. That's the multicolored Ford on the far side of the track, dodging bullets. That's Wayne Solly taking on the fast qualifier thus far, Mike Loopy, a Loopold in the Warhorse. Loopy has been very quick this weekend. And Solly, another one, trying to find and chase away a few gremlins in this Ford out of New York that Tony Martinez drove very successfully over the years. Never really had that big win under his belt, but certainly a contender anywhere he went. And problem there for Loopy. Cuts that turn a little too close, had to back out of it and straighten up. That's going to hurt the qualifying run here on this evening as Wayne Solly tries to play catch-up. Loopy up there by the wall as he takes the wide side, coming down through the alley. Working the track hard as Warhorse, as he greases the tabletop right there. Something going on with Wayne Solly. It looks like dodging bullets continues to have problems, and he rolls to a stop right here in front of our cameras. Loopold will continue on to the finish line, and Wayne Solly will not pick up a qualifying time, it looks like. Disappointed there as he tries to restart the truck. 114 with a 9. And there you see, broke right there, coming toward the final leg. Hey, this evening's only halfway done. The monster truck's coming out on the front stretch. That means it's about time for freestyle here in Bloomsburg. Do not go anywhere.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. Heard the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
The biggest machines in motorsports are a part of the greatest tradition in all the four-wheel drive industry. The Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, part of the Four-Wheel Jamboree Series this weekend, presented by the Steve Shannon Tire Company. And as we go to twilight, that means it's time for Monster Truck Freestyle. They raced earlier this afternoon, and now that the TUFF trucks have left the track, the Monsters are going to go out there and sweep up the dirt. First up, a guy who has had a lousy 2024 and a really rough weekend, to say the least. J.R. Seasock and Playing Hooky. These guys have been working so hard this weekend to get this truck back in the action. Started off fairly strong this year, had drivetrain problems very early in the spring. Thought he had those worked out. Still dealing with a steering problem here, it looks like, as he mauls one of the Yodoc barriers. We'll get an earful about that later in the weekend, I guarantee you. But had to borrow an engine, blew his motor in the shop, putting this truck together for this event. Had to borrow an engine from a family friend. That engine was not set up for a blower. They've been having a lot of trouble getting the timing right, getting the fuel delivery right, the air-fuel mixture, and it looks like they may have solved a couple of those problems, but the steering problem very clearly persists as he's working his way around this track with rear steering only. However, it's definitely making horsepower right now. You got to tip your hat to this team out of Frackville, Pennsylvania. Family operation, but right there had to climb on the binders as it did not want to turn for him. Again, guy climbing his way out of near disaster. Really tough situation having to find an engine on short notice, slap it in the truck, and got here on Thursday night, really Friday morning, about 1 a.m. And then have finally seemed to get this thing to start making some horsepower. A nice hit right there. When he finds the power, this thing's going to be a wheelie machine. You can already tell. Chassis formerly of Tyler Leach. Of course, Kevin Ricco chopped the front end off of it, put a whole new front end on there. Went from 20-inch front shocks and 26-inch rear shocks to 26-inch front shocks and 30-inch rear shocks, although that may change before this truck's life comes to an end. Although this freestyle looks like it's about to wrap up. He's got a problem with that right front kingpin. Can't find it this weekend, but you got to tip your hat again to the hometown team right here, coming out and hammering on it. Lightweight truck. It's a strong truck, and if he can work all these bugs out, he is going to be a force to contend with. I can guarantee you when he comes back for 2025, you're going to see a very different J.R. Seasock. He's got one more event to get through this weekend, but he'd like to thank all the people who got him here, including the team coming up next. The War Wizard, Turner Motorsports. Heads out and clears the mud bog. Right over the embankment of the mud pit. So from one truck that's in the process of being put back together to another truck that just got put back together, you can see the damage on the body of this 41 Willys Pro Mod. This truck was crashed about 3 days ago in Warsaw, Indiana, and they did what they could to get as much of the fiberglass back on this machine as they could. Canvas top this weekend. courtesy of Allison Turner, doing a nice job putting this very powerful machine back to the best state they could. It's running strong, though. 1,600 horsepower going to work out of a 572 cubic inch Kevin Stauffer built KB Oldsmobile power plant behind the driver. Repurposed Patrick chassis that has been through the ringer. Flying back into the infield out of turn number 4. And the truck comes to an abrupt halt as the power goes out. I don't believe they killed the engine there. It sounds like he may have had an electrical problem. Maybe the hit jarred something loose. Could have triggered the RAI. But he keeps on going. Let's see, maybe some two-wheel action? Yes, indeed, just a little. Give it a little taste there. Heads back toward that gravel pile. That, by the way, was already sitting here when the track crew came in this weekend, so they got permission to let the monster trucks jump over that pile of rock. And it's made quite the freestyle obstacle here this weekend, and you can see a lot of different surfaces on this track. They've got gravel, they've got rock, grass, pavement, a little bit of mud. Nicely done for R.J. Turner as he tapped the front of the frame rails on that K-rail that's laying on its side there, serving as the takeoff ramp on that obstacle that is part of our Tough Trucks Challenge course, part of our monster truck race lanes, and looks like he's going to wrap this thing up, throwing a little clay. R.J. Turner in War Wizard out of Knoxville, Maryland, doing a nice job. Again, started off flying over the mud pit right from the pit side. By the way, when we were shooting racing earlier, that's where we were, was on this backside of the mud pit. They cleared us off and send the trucks out there now, and it's a good thing they moved us because that's right where R.J. Turner went. That's an abrupt hit, by the way. Had some nice hang time, plenty of momentum, a little two-wheel action in there. That will put him in the lead for the moment as our next machine gets ready to roll out from my home state of Virginia, about an hour down the road from where I live in Winchester, out of Elkton, Virginia, the Old Dominion Chevrolet. Brandon Darrow, Bad News Travels Fast, continuing this legacy started by Bruce Haney back in the late 90s. Haney, of course, out of Bronson, Florida, sold this machine to Brandon Darrow. Darrow continuing with that tradition, now running this body that features every color combination that this namesake ever ran. And definitely a crowd favorite, one of the most beautiful wraps out here, and one of the cleanest kept trucks in the business. Try and get those slap wheels, just snap that flag off. We were talking to Pops earlier today, his father, about that flag. He buys those flexi flag poles, and they have lasted them quite some time, and he was very happy with how long that one was lasting. Well, it's gone now. Trying to find a spot to get a good slap wheel, as that is his specialty. Might get it here. Nicely done as he walks it up and over the gravel pile. Up into turn number 4. We'll see if he can jump over R.J. Turner in War Wizard for the lead in freestyle. Going off crowd applause. No scores here. Can't quite get that thing to land the way he needs to. Get that nice pendulum slap to get that front end up in the air. It's landing a little hard on the rear end right now. I don't know if maybe he might want to revalve the shocks, although the truck's landing nicely. That's not an indictment of his ability to tune these shocks. This truck is definitely taking everything he's throwing at it. Hold on. That camera is sitting on a barricade that is positioned a little bit out from a storage and power building here on the infield. So I guarantee Lee Collins and crew all had a big sigh of relief when he drove away from that one. Very wise, though, didn't cut the power, didn't kill the truck, because if they had, he would have slid right into it. They let him stay on the power and drive away as Darrow continues to work the track here in freestyle. Spinning those big Firestones, trying to get that grip, to get that slap play. Still hasn't worked out for him. We know he can do it, though. Saw him in 2019 in Lima, Ohio, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Pull out some of the best slap wheelies we've ever seen. Walk the truck across the length of the track. And he's going to wrap up a solid freestyle run. I don't think it's going to take over, but Brandon Darrow out of Elkton, Virginia, getting the job done as he snapped the flag off right there. They'll go and pick that up, give it back to him here in a moment. A good run. Got a medium slap wheelie out of it. Again, he likes to stand that thing up on that wheelie bar and drag it through the dirt. It's the only time he likes to get that body dirty. He's already been on his top once this season, though. And you can see they worked hard to get that thing nice and pretty. As, again, Darrow likes to keep a clean truck out here on the track. Now, the Hemi horsepower of the Hall brothers. This will be the first freestyle for this machine this weekend, as Kurt Kramer, again, bouncing back on this afternoon with a major repair job that this team had to do after he broke a champagne in racing on Friday evening. Ended up against the barriers in front of that storage shed. He could not steer the truck, tucked the front wheel up underneath of it. But they are back and rolling here on Saturday night. Again, going after RJ Turner in the War Wizard. Remember, Turner with the big air, the high speed, and the two-wheel skills action. Kramer going to have to pull out all the stops to jump over War Wizard. Got the hang time, tried to work it into a slap wheelie, wisely backed on the throttle when it bounced on him. Didn't stay in there too long. You can break a ring and pinion that way, or you can break an axle shaft. You can even explode one of the planetary assemblies, but he's doing a nice job. You can see him just giving a little bit of throttle, seeing if it sticks, and then when it hops up on him, he's letting out of it. Another guy that we've seen do some outstanding slap wheelies over the years. In fact, one of our wilder moments with the four-wheel Jamboree Series, again back in 2019, Lima, Ohio, he walked this thing, walked it so far and so wild, he ended up flipping over right in front of our cameras. That was in 2019 in the Buckeye State. Now working the track here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. These guys that have become part of the four-wheel Jamboree tradition will be debuting a new name in 2025 on this machine. Possibly a new engine combination, but that remains to be seen. And he's going to wrap this one up, it looks like, throwing the clay on the front stretch. Sitting at the feet of the competition director, Lee Collins, up there in the basket right now as Kurt Kramer wraps up his freestyle run. War Wizard continues to lead here in freestyle. We're not done. Stay with us. Darren Basil eyeballs the competition. More freestyle coming up next.
The Steve Shannon Tire Company 4-Wheel Jamboree, July 11th through the 13th. Monster trucks, dump trucks, mud bogs, side-by-sides, acres of custom 4x4s. Shop the Wolfbox Performance Marketplace. Don't miss the Steve Shannon Tire 4-Wheel Jamboree, July 11th through the 13th in Bloomsburg. Head to 4wheeljamboree.com.
Kurt Kramer pilots a very muddy Rammunition back into the pit area as the competition continues to go after R.J. Turner and War Wizard. Crazy Craig turns the Dirt Crew Dozer loose here at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds as Steve Shannon Tires presents the 37th annual Summer 4-Wheel Jamboree. Nationals cannot wait to get back here next year for the 38th annual 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. Bathed in sunshine. As always, we hope to see you out here for all the action. 3 days of 4-wheel fun as Jack Brown goes after R.J. Turner. Again, War Wizard in the lead. Crowd determines the freestyle winner here by applause. Brown going after him for sure with the two-wheel moves. Team out of Lafayette, Indiana, campaigning these two Eddie Micah built machines here this weekend. The teammate to Blockhead. Jerry Beck loving these concept bodies, and the kids absolutely love these machines. Seeing them run every year. Not afraid to put them on the edge either. We have seen them destroy these gorgeous fiberglass bodies, and Jack Brown, a guy who could win racing or freestyle on any given day. You can see coming at this track with reckless abandon. A couple of hard hits on the rear end of that machine, and truck seems to be soaking up everything he's throwing at it as he searches for something else on this dark infield here at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds. Again, when they put this speedway in back in 2021, the goal was to light the dirt ring around the infield. They didn't really light the infield, and this used to be a big open pasture here, and they'd have the rollaways out here and light the field for freestyle. Now, with the built-in light standards, it really only shines on that oval, so Brown laying down a run here, but I don't know if he's going to jump over Turner with this. This is a nice hit, though. Big air. Again, hard on the rear end. Trying to get another stop. He got in the slick stuff. I was trying to take a look to make sure all four tires were still pulling. It looks like they are. Every once in a while, when they'll take those hard hits, you'll see them blow out a planetary assembly or possibly an inner or outer axle shaft, but that did not happen as they run those big 2145 rear ends in these trucks, and they don't tend to have the issues with the center sections that some of the others may have if they were to rag them as hard as these guys do. Maybe guys run those F-106s or even the stock Clark rear ends, but hey, those will hold up too. It just depends on your maintenance. However, you blow one of these 2145s out, it can put you out of competition for the weekend, because that is a hefty chunk of metal that has to come out of there. But a lot of guys have been making the switch to those big Freightliner rear ends. Now, the Hemi-powered Raminator, your night one race winner. He had some transmission problems earlier in the day. We'll see if they got those rectified. Another machine that can get some awesome slap wheelies. A lot of horsepower. He's going to try to turn it loose out here on the front stretch of the fairgrounds. And you talk about transmission problems. You heard one go right there, no question about it. And I do believe, well, Thought that was going to be the end for him. Is he going to get it going again? Indeed not. I can tell you right now, that is the end of the line for Mark Hall. Very, very disappointing turn of events for the Hall brothers as Crazy Craig and the crew go to work getting Mark Hall back into the pit area. Evan Chandler and Kevin Ricco look on, crewing for the DCT crew this weekend. We know flight risk. I mentioned him earlier. He put the front end underneath a playing hooky and out here helping Jerry Beck's crew this weekend. Wasting no time getting after it. Darren Basil going after RJ Turner. Turner still sitting on top. The freestyle field blockhead going to work, and there's the slap wheelie everybody's been going after this weekend. Another Eddie Micah built machine. Nearly identical chassis with a couple of alterations. Nearly identical chassis to that of Jack Brown, the Dirt Crew dozer. But one of the big differences you'll see is that Basil runs these coilover shocks on here. Still has the bypass shock on there with it, but runs those coilover shocks which return this truck to ride height no matter how it lands. And you can see he loves this combination. He can work a track with the best of them, and it looks like he is going after RJ Turner with a vengeance. Crossing up the track right there. What does Basil have left? He's going to put up a smoke screen right now. Found the pavement, throwing rocks all over the Raminator. Just dusted down our turn 3 camera crew. And again with some nice hang time. Tough for these guys to see out there at all times, but he's making the most of it. Basil absolutely has to have taken over at this point. Anything he does now is going to be for these great Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania four-wheel Jamboree fans. Probably wanted to grab another slap wheelie, but it gets a little narrow up there between the shed, Raminator, and the wall closing in on him. He wisely set that one back down, but he's not done yet. Huge air for Darren Basil. This truck built new for 2024. Debuted back in May in Pennsylvania. Seems to do well in this state. Debuted under the dozer identity, and then Basil got his blockhead body back on there. But you can see the crew very happy with that one. Kevin Ricco trying to stay off camera there. But crew very, very happy with the efforts there. There you hear it from Scott Heaton, legendary track announcer, getting the fans pumped up all weekend. Darren Basil, your freestyle winner here in Bloomsburg on night number 2. So that's 2 for 2 in freestyle with 1 to go. We will see what he can do at the end of this weekend. Remember, he also has a racing victory from earlier this afternoon. It's anybody's guess how this will end up. We thank you for joining us for the 37th annual Steve Shannon Tire Summer 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. We will see you for Sunday afternoon action.
Hey, you leave that
noise.
Hey, don't touch that.